What is up everyone, and welcome to our course on pandas. My name is Nemish and I'll be guiding you through the next few hours in which we'll be learning how to effectively use the Python library pandas. For starters, there are a couple of prerequisites. We expect that you have some Python experience. That doesn't mean you have to be an expert with many years of experience, but we expect that you understand the basics of programming in Python and concepts such as variables, loops, arrays, etc. We expect that you have some experience using NumPy. Again, you don't have to be an expert, but because pandas and NumPy are so closely tied together, and we will be using a little bit of NumPy functionality, we expect that you should know a little bit about that library too. And pandas is mostly used for data analysis, so we assume that you want an efficient way to analyze data. Now, just a quick side note, there actually is no operating system requirement. I personally record these tutorials on a Mac, so that's why things look a certain way, and I use Google Colab to write the code. You don't have to use Google Colab if you want, and you can use any operating system you want, but it will probably be best if you do use Google Colab. It's free, super easy to set up, and it would just kind of make things a little easier to follow along. Now, what are we going to be learning? These will be kind of our broad learning objectives. First, we'll go over what makes pandas so great and why we should learn about this library. Then we'll learn how to use pandas series. These are essentially arrays, one-dimensional arrays, similar to one-dimensional NumPy arrays. Then we'll learn how to use pandas date ranges. These are essentially just arrays of the pandas date time type. After this, we'll spend a lot of time talking about pandas data frames. These are used to represent multi-dimensional data. And along with data frames, we'll learn how to read CSVs with pandas. That is one of the more common usages of this library. Now, specifically, the topics that have to do with series will begin with just a general intro into pandas. Then we'll talk about how to install and import pandas into a project. And then we'll get to the actual series stuff. So we'll start by learning how to create pandas series using a variety of techniques. Then how to get elements from series. This can be individual elements or slices of series. Then how to get properties from series, stuff like the max, min, mean, etc. Then we'll talk about various ways in which we can modify series. So this will be modifying the various properties of series, kind of reshuffling things, changing elements, etc. After this, we'll take a look at series operations. These will be mostly arithmetic operations. And then finally, we can talk about series comparison, so comparing various series, individual elements, etc., and then how to iterate over series. The second half will be devoted to data frames. So we'll start again by learning how to create this type of objects. This will be pandas data frames. Then we'll learn how to get elements from data frames. This will have a variety of techniques to do so because now we're dealing with columns and rows. We'll learn how to get properties from data frames, then how to modify data frames, data frame operations, this will be mostly arithmetic operations. We'll talk about then data frame comparisons and iteration, and we'll finish up with reading CSVs into data frames. Again, that's one of the most common usages of pandas, so that's a very important aspect of things. After that, we'll have just a quick summary and outro that will be just kind of a summary of the entire course, and we can talk about where to go from there. So how are these tutorials generally going to work? Well, the tutorials will be mostly practical. If you've watched some of our other tutorials, some of the topics have a lot of theoretical knowledge behind them. That's not really so much the case here. It's more about learning how to use the library applied to practical problems, so we're going to be spending most of our time actually writing code. There'll be a general intro into each section in the slides, and then we switch on over to code. Again, this will be just kind of talking about the topics that we're going to be covering, and then we'll be using Google Colab in these tutorials. Once more, you don't have to use Google Colab if you really don't want, but I think it's a great tool and would make things a little easier for you if you did follow along. We'll try to go over a few examples for each topic. For example, even when creating a data frame or a series, there are a variety of different techniques we can employ. So we'll try to explore lots of different ways we can go about doing things to give you a broad understanding of each topic. Now, pandas is an enormous library, so it's just not practical for us to explore every single aspect of each topic. We'll take a look at the most important functionality that you'll be encountering most often out in the real world. We could spend hours and hours talking about each of these topics, but I figure we'll kind of skip the stuff that we're not really going to use and focus on the most important functionality. All right, and that is it. So now you know what you're getting yourselves into. Hope you're super excited to learn about this library. It is one of my favorite Python libraries out there. It's super useful, super powerful, and yeah. So let's jump right in. Our next topic will be kind of in the slides, just talking about pandas and a general intro into how it works. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.